So the railroad is booming. Everybody's got a job just about who wants one. And as I have often said, we sat at home on Panola Street and watched Mr. Caulfield walk by our house every morning going to work. So we knew everything was fine. God was in heaven, Mr. Caulfield was at the depot, and everything was going to be taken care of. So it was a great day of railroading in Water Valley. We had a band, we had a ball team. The big social life was you had stratas in your society, and the top, the cream, lived very nicely. They were good salary jobs. Superintendent, of course, was on top of the pile, but the trainmen, the brakemen, the conductors, the firemen, the engineers all made good money. They bought new cars. They built nice new bungalows. The Illinois Central Magazine is so full of all of this in the teens and 20s and even into the 30s before the Depression. A man working for the railroad is proud of his job. He always, in writing up about a young fella who has married one of the sweet local girls, he has a favorable position with the Illinois Central Railroad. And he's got a new, 2-3 years, he's got a new sedan, or he's got a new touring car. And he's built a neat little bungalow on Blunt Street, or Wood Street, or somewhere like that. So things were prospering. The World War I is now past us if we're into the 20s. I guess the prime years are reflected by the thickness of the Employees magazine. And the thickest ones I find are in 27, 8, and 9. By 29, of course, the rest of the world is going into a depression. Water Valley has felt it a little bit. Well, felt it considerably. So many of the shop people have left. But still, it's a great railroad in 1929 and even in 1930. It takes a long time before they begin to neglect the maintenance of the track and the buildings, and they cut the salaries and do all these things. So it's really a happy life. There's an awful lot of smoke in town and cinders, switch engines around the clock. But you have to have those things to move boxcars. By the first loss of business, the first sign that this thing might not go on forever, was in 1913 when they moved the banana trains from here, from this route, up through the hill country, through Holly Springs and Jackson, Tennessee. They moved it over to the YNMV, which went up through the Mississippi Delta. And as you know, the Mississippi Delta is flat country. You can pull twice as many cars over there as you can here with the same type of locomotive. So in 1913, a large number of our trains are taken away and put over on the valley. A large number of our people transferred from the transportation division of the railroad, the trainmen and the engine men. Quite a number transferred over to the YNMV, that's the Yazoo and Mississippi Valley, which is owned by the Illinois Central. It runs from Memphis down through to Vicksburg, or the river route. But the other route came down through Greenwood, down to Chula and to Jackson, Mississippi. And that's the way the banana trains went. So about, I would say, 20, 25, 30 maybe, of our trainmen and enginemen moved over to that area. So families left here. Some of the men working here were cut back, like conductors would be cut back to flagmen, engineers would be cut back to firemen. The oldest engineer that I remember being cut back firing probably was my own Uncle Willis Gurner, who was cut back for 2-3 months to firing passenger. And Jim Barnes, one of his old buddies who went on later to Florida, writes me about he and his old buddy Hicks Gurner being cut off. And of course Barnes goes on to tell me about him whooping a certain engineer down here at Goodman, how mean the engineer was and all that, and they put Hicks Gurner on the job. But this meant that these engineers are cut back firing. There's a depression in business. Barnes is just, in his personal reminiscences, reflecting the big problem. The big problem was the loss of business. But that all was cured when World War I came along, and business rushes through World War I. We have new classes of engines that have come in the meantime. They're bigger, they're harder to fire, but they pull longer trains. And the work of the men out on the road in transportation, except for the conductors and the engineers who don't have to heave any coal or chase any switches, the jobs are harder. But we move a lot of trains through the 20s. The passenger service is good. The social life is good. The pay is pretty good. There's a strike in 22. This is a cloud on the horizon, and it scares everybody to death for the reason that back in 1911, I overlooked the fact that we had a terrible period of strife here. When the great 1911 strike occurred in October 1911, the clerks and the shopmen walked out up here all over the system. Our representatives on the System Federation of Employees had tried their best to work out an agreement for improved working conditions and better pay with the railroad company, but they were adamant in their refusal even to meet with the committee. I've got a fine picture of all the Illinois Central Committee men in Memphis, but they're meeting all by themselves. The railroad company won't come talk to them. So they go on strike. National Guard has to be called in. People come in to work in the shop. The strike only occurs with the shop and with the people, the clerks, people of that nature, not the running people. That was an unfortunate thing. If you're a labor person on the railroad, you almost never got any of the trainmen to go out on strike with you. In fact, the BLE, Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers, always boasted the fact that they never had struck against Illinois Central, and they have until this day, even when us firemen went out.